Hello, welcome to Liz and Let Grow. My name is Liz if you're new here. And I just wanted to tell you a little story today about why and how I got into gardening. You may think that, well, you've got a gardening channel, so you must have already always loved gardening and being outside and the outdoors and just, bugs must not bother you, and that could just not be further from the truth. So my mom growing up always had a garden, and a very big garden at that, and a vegetable garden, flower garden, shrubs. My dad builds these beautiful rock walls a la England and France is beautiful. I was never part of that by my choice. I always had seasonal allergies. I remember one time when I was about 7, we were stuffing a scarecrow, it was really fun. And then I realized that I got contact hives from the straw, and sitting in grass would make me itchy. So I was just never an outdoor cat, as my mom calls it. She called me the inside cat. Funny enough, that's how I actually got into cooking, is that everyone would be out in the garden and I would want to help. So I asked my mom if I could start making dinner. Well, really, I got in, long story, TLDR, I did a lot of baking first, and then my mom was like, we could use dinner more than we could use another batch of your amazing giant pecan sticky buns. Oh, so good. Anyway, so I was never into gardening really until I moved here. I mean, I had a little garden with my family that I nannied for on Long Island when I was there, but I was never a big part of that. So my first venture into gardening was actually on this deck in some pots. And the reason I didn't want to get too much into gardening, I just didn't know how long we were going to be at this house. I didn't want to invest a lot of time and money into something that I was just going to have to pick up and leave. And then, a year went by and I realized, I think that my quality of life would just be improved with having, some flowers to look at, some fresh tomatoes to eat. So that's really where I started. I had some tomatoes in pots on my deck. And then I kind of graduated to flowers. Then my mom came and visited me, and I had one little garden bed in the front. And then I started putting in a little flower bed in the front, which was very satisfying to just pop in a couple seeds. The zinnias were so satisfying to plant and just watch them come up and nurture them. And it was just so beautiful. So that's really what inspired me to get going, was wanting a little bit more beauty. And honestly, the time outside really surprised me, because I'm really not that much of an outside person. Like, we went camping growing up, but I was never that much into it, and just being outside with the bugs and the mosquitoes, and I just didn't love it. But I mean, times change, people change, and I'm a walking poster board for that. So today I want to share how I got started in gardening and why I think everyone should have at least a little bit of a garden, even if it's just in a pot. So my first planting experience was really just the tomatoes on the deck, and it didn't go terribly. I really underestimated how much water they were going to need, because some of the pots, like this one, but it's unglazed terracotta, and so that means it needs a lot more water than the rest. And then the wind dried out a lot of the tomatoes, made their leaves curl up, so it was a little bit more finicky than I thought they were going to be. And I still caged them and everything, but I really enjoyed just coming out on my deck and just picking a handful of cherry tomatoes. I mean, I think the plant was like $1.50. So it was just the startup cost wasn't enough for me to not do it. So that's why I'm really trying to encourage people, just even if you have a pot on your deck of tomatoes, it gets your foot in the door, and it's just enough that gets you outside and in the sun. And, everyone knows how good sunlight is for you now, hopefully. Not too much, everything in moderation. Why I fell in love with gardening, I probably would have to chalk it up to seeing things grow, and just, honestly, it's just amazing. It's amazing what a little seed can do and what a little seed can turn into. So honestly, it's very, kind of brings you back to your childhood a little bit. It's also very fun with kids. I mean, I garden with my kids, and my kids learn a lot, and all the plant names and everything. So it's really fun. So it's just very encouraging, and I just love being outside, some days more than others, but that's why I like to garden early in the morning and kind of later in the evening, especially when it starts to get more hot outside. Gardening also really made me more aware of like the seasons. Not that I wasn't aware of the seasons before, but if you just think that gardening is just about when you put the plant in the ground until the plant comes out of the ground or it stops fruiting, you are wrong. I mean, gardening starts in the winter, honestly. It starts with the planting, it starts with the seed buying, it starts with, starting your seeds indoors if that's what you're going to do. Highly recommend, because it's very cost effective to do it that way, especially if you have like a sunny window. It just offers some peace, routine, and mindfulness. Young Elizabeth would never have thought that weeding could be so therapeutic. I've got my coffee in hand in the morning and I'm picking weeds. It's just, it's so peaceful, and the birds are chirping, and it's just wonderful. And I'm usually barefoot, so all that good grounding. So why I think everyone should garden, at least in a pot. So it's accessible. It's accessible because you could have a garden, on your windowsill in your house. You could grow microgreens. There's so many different ways you could grow microgreens, or herbs in pots, or hydroponically. It's really interesting. People doing that indoors, but a lot of the times it's very cheap. You get to see where your food comes from and have a hand in it, and it's a very engaging and rewarding experience, which I think everyone, if you're old or young, would benefit from. It's also extremely therapeutic. So it helps with stress. It helps with screen burnout, which I know a lot of people struggle with. When you're in your garden, it's really, unless you're bringing a screen with you, it's just a really good time to just touch grass, as the kids say. But gardening can help with anxiety, it can help with stress and burnout, so highly recommend. Gardening can also help you build confidence through learning and experimenting, learning what foods are easy for you to grow, learning what foods you actually really love to grow. If you like pottering about, as the British would say, I think things like pruning your tomatoes is going to be really fun for you, because you get to go out there every day and just check, and if that leaf looks bad, cut it off. It's going to be fine. It's really not that deep. Honestly, gardening joke here. It's just really not that deep. Gardening is trying to find a good bit of soil. If you don't, buy some good dirt, put it in a pot, throw some seeds in and water, see what happens. So just start there, and it's very rewarding. I'm warning you. I'm warning you. It's addictive. It's addictive. My final encouragement to you is that you do not need a green thumb. I think I have a couple house plants, but they're the kind that you forget, you water once a month and then you kind of forget about it. But you just do not need a green thumb to be a gardener. You really don't. And I think a lot of people are coming into the realization that just having a garden, whether it's, a couple pots on your balcony, or if it's, having food if you grow one thing that you eat that is so good for you, for your mental health, if you just grew tomatoes for yourself, it would just be so much better for you than buying store-bought tomatoes, and it would just be such a good learning experience. So I just want to encourage you to give it a try. Something magical happens when you put your hands in the dirt, your feet in the grass, your feet in the dirt, whatever. It's quite life-changing, honestly, and I'm so glad that I discovered that I like gardening, at the young age of about 30, we'll say. And I'm just so excited. I have a whole lifetime of gardening in front of me, and it may look different. In my older years, I may not have a giant plot. I may just want a couple pots. You start with a couple pots, you go big, and then, you kind of end small or something. But I'm really interested to hear what got you into gardening. So kind of what got me into gardening was really missing the taste of homegrown tomatoes, honestly, and just wanting to be outside more, and learning to enjoy nature as it happens. And I've lived, all over the country, and there are many different climates that I'm fully aware, and zones and everything. So, gardening in South Texas is going to be a lot different than gardening in California, than gardening here in upstate New York. But I think everywhere you can, if you're gardening in South Texas, you're going to have a lot longer growing window. So lucky. But yeah, I'm just encouraging you to throw some seeds in the ground, throw some seeds in the dirt, mulch it a little bit, watch it grow, and let me know how it goes. So I'm gonna link here to another video, which is really fun and very satisfying to watch. It's actually about me refinishing the deck that we're currently on. So it's a very fun watch, but make sure to give this video a like and subscribe if you liked it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.